The movie surrounds a washed-out film director named Leek. He recently lost his mother, who left him with his father, Yat Hung. The old man has dementia and needs constant care. One night, Leek's father comes to him in wet pajamas, having peed himself for the 5th time in a day. An angered Leek drags the poor old man into the bathroom and locks him inside. Right after, he washes the regret with alcohol and decides to commit the unthinkable. Seconds before dying, something strange happens in Leek's apartment. The younger version of his mother appears out of the fridge and saves him. Then comes the following morning. Leek suddenly remembers about his father and rushes to the bathroom. Yat Hung is slouched down in the toilet, still asleep. Leek tries to pull him back, but is shocked when he realizes his father is light as a feather. It turns out that Yat Hung has shed his skin overnight, and the thing Leek just touched is the outer layer of his body and his outfit. Gross. Still in shock, Leek hears his father's voice arguing with someone outside. He is downstairs, talking to a bunch of youngsters about music and sports. It is a strange sight for Leek because he hasn't seen his father have a rational conversation in years. It is almost as if his dementia has been miraculously cured. Leek assumes something is wrong with Yat Hung and is worried about his health. Yat Hung, on the other hand, seems to remember everything that happened before he was diagnosed with dementia. He even thinks the shedding of his skin is normal, like the seasons and sunburn peeling. A while later, he runs to the market and talks to the sellers as he used to in the past. He remembers all of their names and can do complex math faster than a calculator. However, when he tries to buy vegetables, he is asked to pay off his debts first. Soon, the entire market runs after him because he is indebted to almost everyone. After somehow getting away from them, Leek brings Yat Hung to the hospital. Initially, Yat Hung argues that he is perfectly fine and doesn't need to get checked, but after seeing how beautiful the nurse is, he is ready to give it a try. The doctor is shown the results from a CAT scan, which shocks him. Yat Hung's dementia has been cured at an unbelievable rate, and it is as if he has aged back 10 years. The doctor thinks Leek is trying to perform an insurance fraud and has brought a different person instead of his father. They are kicked out of the hospital, and Leek's questions about his father remain unanswered. In the following scene, the father and son are back home. Yat Hung collects his skin to throw it in the trash, but Leek stops him. He thinks it might be useful in the future, but Yat Hung finds it disgusting to save his own skin. As they struggle to get a hold of the skin, Leek's wife, Sasa, barges in. She is here to ask Leek if he has signed the divorce papers, but is distracted by the skin, which is now sitting on the sofa. Yat Hung doesn't remember Sasa and Leek having marital problems, and asks her to stay in the house. However, Sasa is tired of her husband's bad decisions. Moreover, he cheated on her with his high school sweetheart. She no longer wants to be with him, and orders him to sign the papers in a week. Then, Leek and Yat Hung have a long chat about how Leek's life turned out to be this way. The main reason for his failure is his high school girlfriend, Chi Mi. On the night when Leek's first film flopped, Chi Mi came to meet him with a cigarette in her hand. He needed reassurance, which he found in her love. However, the affair broke his marriage, and the cigarette burned down the studio he put all of his money on. It was the beginning of his downfall. Soon after, he received divorce papers from his wife. Then, he was beaten up by loan sharks, who made him sign a paper that gives them the right to his organs. If he doesn't pay them back in the next 3 months, they will sell his organs to make money. Yat Hung feels bad for Leek, but knows that everything that happened was his fault, and no one else's. Yat Hung even blames Leek for pushing his mother to an early death with all of his bad decisions. Leek can do nothing but listen, because he knows it is true. The following morning, Leek wakes up to another piece of skin lying in his house. Yat Hung has yet again transformed, turning into his younger 40-year-old self. Leek goes outside and finds him arguing with 2 policemen about smoking rules. Leek helps him get rid of the police and brings him to the stadium where they used to go when he was in high school. They reenact the old days when Leek had no problems in his life. For the first time in years, the father and son feel like they still love each other. Later on, they are at home when someone knocks on the door. It is none other than Leek's high school girlfriend, Chi Mi. She just got divorced and is desperate to get back together with Leek. She tries her best to seduce him, while Leek tries his best to send her away. When nothing works, he holds a kitchen knife at her and threatens her to leave. But before that, Sasa arrives and finds her husband with the girl he cheated with. Both women refuse to back down or go away. Chi-Mi tries to make Sasa jealous by telling her how Leek used to treat her, while Sasa calls her the other woman. They are interrupted by another knock on the door. This time, a handsome young guy walks in, who Leek mistakes for Jackie Chan from Snake in the Eagle's Shadow. Self-plug, we recapped that too. But the man turns out to be Yat Hung, who has changed his skin for the third time. On being asked where the skin is, he says that he left it in the streets because it was trash. Leek immediately runs outside to get the skin back. To him, it is not just a layer. The skin was the best his father has ever been. Weird. After reminiscing about his childhood yesterday, Leek has finally realized how important his father has been in his life. He looks for the skin in every part of the neighborhood, ignoring the heavy rainfall. Then, he finally finds it hung on a pole in an alleyway. Leek hugs the skin as his own father and brings him back home. By now, Yat Hung is cooking in the kitchen, delighted that he is getting his youth back. This version of him is not what Leek knew his father to be. When Yat Hung makes fun of the collection of skin, they get into an argument. This reminds Leek of the bad times he had with his father, like when he cheated on his mother and neglected the family. The argument turns into a fist fight when Yat Hung openly admits to cheating. Leek holds him on the ground and is about to hurt him, but he sees his mother's picture in the background and stops. Yat Hung makes fun of him for being weak and asks him to get out of the house because it is still under his name. Some seconds later, he feels bad seeing Leek cry and shows him a bobby pin that his wife left in the house earlier. Yat Hung wants Leek to pursue Sasa and bring her back into his life. If he is unable to do even that, Yat Hung promises to disown him. Instead of going to Sasa, Leek ends up in the hands of the loan sharks. They chain him up and are about to take his organs out. All of a sudden, Yat Hung makes a Jackie Chan style entry on a scooter. Initially, he threatens the thugs, but as they hold their weapons to his neck, he does a 180 and pretends to be a passerby. The gangster asks Yat Hung to apologize if he wants to be let free. However, Yat Hung is a strict follower of the saying that sorry should only be said if one feels that way. He tries to get off the hook by puzzling the gangsters, but it doesn't work. They proceed to beat him up while Leek yells in the background. Suddenly, Yat Hung goes through another transformation. His skin tears, revealing the flesh underneath and making the gangsters run away in fear. Following that, he climbs up the bar and comes out of his older skin. Leek is shocked to have witnessed a transformation in real time. His father stands naked, covered in a slimy substance in an animal-like form. Leek manages to unlock the chains using the bobby pin, but by the time he is free, Yat Hung has already disappeared. Later at night, Leek returns home to see that it has completely changed into Yat Hung's home from when he was in his 20s. He was working for the Chinese air base in the war and was recently married to Leek's mother. Yat Hung says that he has to go to Hong Kong to get his wife back. Leek realizes he doesn't remember her death and tells him the truth. Yat Hung's heart breaks for the 100th time as he crouches down in a corner. After that, he takes his son to the final flight that he piloted. The father and son enjoy flying for a while before they crash. This crash actually happened in the past and caused Yat Hung to lose 50% of the vision in his eyes, which is why he had to retire. They return to the apartment, where Yat Hung continues telling the stories of the past. All of a sudden, 20-year-old Leek's mother barges into the room. Alongside the house, Yat Hung's imagination has manifested his wife as well. She begins cooking noodles for them, and the smell of it makes all the skin come back to life. Leek also turns into his younger self and invites all versions of his father to eat. As this movie descends into the deepest pits of hell, they sit around the table like a family and enjoy the meal together. All Yat Hungs blame each other for how their life turned out and come to the conclusion that the 30-year-old Yat Hung who cheated on his wife was the worst version of them all. In the end, they all have to go to the toilet at once. Leek turns back into his older version and thanks his mother for everything she has done. He wishes her goodbye with tears in his eyes, knowing that she has come to him to show him the right path in life. Suddenly, an earthquake hits, and their house flies into the sky. Leek looks outside and sees his father enjoying a plane ride. He finally feels like the person that he was before his life took a turn for the worst. In the following scene, Leek sits by his father, who is on his deathbed. Everything that happened in the past week feels like a realistic dream to him. But in his heart, he knows that it was reality. It was his parents reminding him he still has reasons to stay alive. Eventually, Yat Hung passes away, and Leek remembers him as the man who shaped him as a person, not an old man who wet his pants all the time. After that, Leek signs the divorce papers and apologizes to Sasa for making her life so difficult. She was always a good wife to him, and he is the one who failed to understand that. He also reveals that he is going to start directing again, as his friend has gotten him a job at an entertainment company. The loan shark has agreed to receive money in interest, which might be because he was scared of Yat Hung when they last met. Overall, Leek's life is back on track, and he could not be happier. This ambitious version of Leek is what Sasa fell in love with years ago. She makes an airplane out of the divorce papers and accepts him as who he is. A few weeks later, Leek is on the set of his next big project. He handles several employees under him and is passionate about work. The movie he is working on is called Shedskin Papa and is based on what happened to him a few weeks ago. In the last scene, he looks at the set in admiration and initiates the first take. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.